Our movies start with a confession session for psychiatric patients, and during the session, one of the patients talked about her friend and pointed to the mystery of his personality and strange behavior. At the same time, our protagonist Renfield was thinking about his own story. He worked as a real estate lawyer and met a person named Dracula who was interested in him and introduced him to the world of the rich. With time, Renfield became Dracula's personal assistant and gained a superpower that he could activate by consuming insects. Later, Dracula was attacked and tied up, but Renfield saved him because he was the reason for his happy life. However, he later regretted saving Dracula, who wanted to kill the innocent, and because of that, they had a fight that ended with Dracula being burned. In the confession session, Renfield was asked to tell his story, but he was afraid to reveal the secret and did not speak. The session ended without any progress. But later, Renfield decided to use the superpower that Dracula gave him to get rid of the pain of his fellow patients. His first step was to attack drug dealers, and at first, they thought he was a professional killer who came to get rid of them. After learning that he was the friend of their boss's girlfriend, they made fun of him. But they were surprised when he launched an attack on them with a strange force that increased with every insect he ate. Because of this power, he was able to hit one of the strongest people with a punch that sent him flying far away. After that, Renfield was about to capture the gang leader but managed to escape before that. Now we see Rebecca, a serious police officer who does not care about conspiracy theories, and she succeeded in arresting the drug cartel leader who escaped from Renfield, thanks to her efforts, and his name is Teddy. Robert, the killer, takes the body of the real killer and brings it to his boss, Dracula, who needs fresh blood to regain his full power. However, Renfield refuses to implicate any innocent person, but Dracula tells him that he must be more ruthless and not care about people. In the end, Dracula helps Renfield with the treatment because Dracula's blood has healing properties. Afterwards, we see Rebecca surprised to learn that Teddy has been released because he comes from a powerful criminal family that the government fears. Nevertheless, Rebecca decides to take matters into her own hands and capture the gang even without the police's knowledge. Her determination increases when she discovers that the Teddy family, known as the Lobo, killed her father. Now we see Teddy's mother, the main leader of the Lobo family, characterized by her extreme violence and passion for torturing people. Currently, Teddy's mother's biggest concern is to find out who is spying on them and capture and torture them. Meanwhile, the police have found the place where the drug dealers were killed and found the name of the restaurant where Renfield was sitting. On the other hand, the gang sent 2 of their men to kill Rebecca at the same place. And indeed, she was easily caught. Teddy also taunts Rebecca about her father's death, prompting Renfield to plan revenge against them. Here, Renfield uses a forks to kill and attack all the men, and after a fierce battle, he kills them all. Then the 2 meet, but Rebecca is surprised by his way of dealing with them, but she just thanks him for his help. Returning to Dracula, who has not fully regained his strength due to his illness, he begins to talk to Renfield and tells him that after spending centuries in this world, he has decided to divide humans into 2 groups, those who follow him and those who do not, and he will be their god. He plans to free weak people from their control. But these plans do not please Robert, as he feels that he is serving the wrong person. So he went to his colleagues in the session and asked for advice on how to get rid of toxic relationships. He told them that he had an authoritarian boss who always talked about his desire to control the world. After a long discussion with his colleagues, they found the only solution was not to help Renfield for his boss, and that would not give him the opportunity to achieve his plans. Therefore, they agreed to change Robert's place of residence to be far from Dracula, live a normal life like everyone else, and get rid of all the insects that helped him use his power or return to Dracula. Our hero's life became better and more stable until he became settled. To achieve greater stability, he decided to go to Rebecca and confess his feelings to her. Before the confession, he praised her wonderful personality because she was the only one trying to confront the Lobo gang. At the same time, the gang focused on our hero and followed him from the first day, and they decided to eliminate him and make it his last day of his life. On the other hand, Rebecca did not give up her defense and went to her intelligence colleague and asked her to analyze the evidence found at the crime scene of the drug gang members who had previously been killed by Robert. Interestingly, Rebecca did not know until now that Renfield was the one who killed 3 people from the drug gang. At night, the gang arrived at the place where Dracula was hiding. While they were holding their phones and taking orders from the boss, they saw a black shadow that attracted them one by one. And this shadow is the monster Dracula. However, the problem was that when Dracula asked Teddy, "Who are you?" he answered that he was looking for Robert, especially after he had saved many innocents, which made Dracula suspicious of our hero and convinced that he had begun to betray him. That's why Dracula went to Robert's house and prepared a surprise for him there. When Renfield saw him, Dracula asked him about the innocent blood he had requested, but Renfield avoided answering and tried to escape the question. This confirmed to Dracula that Robert's end would be at the hands of this man, so he became angry and turned on him, starting to tell him about his tragic past. One of the conversations that Dracula said to Renfield is that his wife and daughter died because of him and because he left them to die and abandoned them to achieve his ambitions in life. Renfield couldn't take it anymore and got his book and told Dracula, "You're just ruining my life, and I want to live it in peace like other humans." And here Dracula saw the slogan of the listening group where Renfield was sitting, so he disappeared after hearing that and went there. On the other hand, Rebecca is still continuing her investigation, but she has not been able to find any tangible evidence yet. As for Robert, he returned to the listening session and asked his colleagues to escape before the disaster occurred. In fact, they could not escape from the place because Dracula had already reached them and decided to take revenge on everyone. The strange thing about it is that everyone in the room saw him, and the important thing is that he introduced himself to them and told them his name, and asked Robert, "Why did you betray me?" But he couldn't answer and begged him not to kill these innocents because they are innocent and don't deserve to die. But Dracula refused and thanked him for preparing that feast of humans for him, then started to kill them one by one mercilessly. And he didn't stop there. He has now decided to eradicate the entire human race as a form of revenge against Renfield and his betrayal. After everything that had happened, Rebecca came and wondered how could the kind person who saved her and all these people be capable of killing? This was after she had thought that Renfield was the one who committed that massacre. Then she decided to take him to the police station, but unfortunately, she was surprised that her colleagues had betrayed her in the first place. And this was because of Mrs. Lupo, who wants to kill Robert. Why? Because she believes he's the one who kidnapped her granddaughter, but fortunately, Rebecca managed to escape from them, along with Robert. We are in trouble here because Dracula has decided to rely on the Teddy family and use them to help him revive the army of the dead to take over the world. The next day, Rebecca woke up to find herself in Robert's house. He tried to convince her that he is not the enemy she's looking for, and that they should unite together to destroy their violent leader. And before she could respond, she received a call from her colleague in the intelligence agency, informing her that they have discovered that random killings have been happening for centuries, and they don't know who the responsible killer is. And I believe you know what these crimes mean, dear viewer. The two didn't finish their conversation when they were surprised by the appearance of the police, sent by Grandma Lupo, to arrest them. And here, Renfield suggested to Rebecca that he should eat any insect to increase his strength and be able to confront the police. And when the police arrived, a violent battle ensued between them, but it was somewhat comical, where Renfield used one policeman's arm to eliminate the other. And he jumped from above onto one of the policemen's heads in a terrible way, as if it was a wrestling match. Afterwards, Teddy returned to his grandmother and received a box containing Dracula. This lets us know that there is a strong alliance of villains forming. On the other side, Rebecca sat with Renfield, and while he spoke to her about the power of Dracula, he explained that this power primarily relies on exploiting human greed. It turns out that Renfield joined the Dracula family due to his greed for money and power, and he was planning new evil deeds. Later on, Dracula contacted Renfield and informed him that he joined the Lupo family and would achieve his goal of eliminating humans. Later, Rebecca received a call from her grandmother telling her that her sister had been kidnapped and she had to come see her. She decided to prepare weapons, and Renfield decided to prepare a large quantity of insects to assist him. Meanwhile, Renfield and Rebecca were thinking about how to prepare the rituals with which they would imprison Dracula as before. The most important thing in all of this was to accomplish the mission before sunset, but upon arrival, Renfield found it increasingly difficult as Teddy's men were also drawing their power from Dracula, and their fight became difficult. But our hero used all his speed and strength and managed to complete the mission. The grandmother also noticed the sunset and thus completely isolated the light, all as a prelude to the appearance of Draco, who played a role in controlling Rebecca's mind and tried to convince her to join him. He offered her a treatment for her sister through his blood if she agreed to join his army. This explains Robert's strength, which he obtained from Draco's blood. In the end, she agreed to join Dracula, which made him feel very happy, while our hero felt extreme sadness. At that moment, Rebecca tricked him and lifted the barrier, causing Dracula's body to weaken, but he was still present. Here, Dracula became angry and began to take revenge on Rebecca, manipulating her until she felt terror from every direction, and he was about to kill her, but she succeeded in destroying him and fired her gun at his foot before spreading his blood on Renfield to heal him. However, despite much fighting and attempts, they still couldn't control him. Here, our hero began to remember what his comrades said about his self-power and began to retrieve his strength. He hit Dracula heavily and knocked him down. After that, they imprisoned him in a fortification circle, brought out their weapons, and the music started playing. A grand party of punches and blows was launched on Dracula, and in the end, Dracula was successfully killed, and the movie ends.